My name is Ryan Leach. I'm a registered dietitian, and I'm here with my tag team partner.
I'm Matt Sells. I'm a certified personal trainer and a certified health coach.
And together we are Franchise Nutrition and Fitness. And since 2006, we've actually been working with patients and clients to help them maximize every single one of their reps and every single bite that they eat, just to try and bring out as much of themselves as they can and live their healthiest lives as possible.
Absolutely. And using our own inspiration, our own advice that we've given ourselves, and we kind of practice what we, not kind of, we definitely practice what we preach. And that's why we wanted to start Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, and to be able to pass along our knowledge and pass along our inspiration to others, and not just be that all encompassing Instagram trainer or just that nutritionist online, just giving a little bit of advice that maybe is not the most well educated.
Yeah, we'll get into that later. But to be a nutritionist, you actually need absolutely zero qualifications. I could just call myself a nutritionist if I wanted to, but I actually went to school to do this, and I'm recognized by the US federal government as one of the only people legally practicing in hospitals to be able to do it.
I'm always of the mindset that I want somebody with the proper credentials working on me in any facet of life. You're not going to go to a doctor, your primary care physician, who's not certified by a board, who's not an MD. And it should be the same thing with your registered dietitian. It should be the same thing with your personal trainer. Like you should make sure that your trainer and your health coach is somebody who has the credentials to be able to help you out. And it's not just what works for him or her. It's they have science, evidence based information to back it up.
Yeah, there's this wonderful shirt out there that says influencer has a strike through it. It says registered dietitian with no strike through it, and then says nutritionist on the bottom with a strike through it. With And that's just saying that people out there can do whatever they want. They can believe whatever they want to believe. That's totally fine. But we are always going to be following some evidence-based practice to help everybody get better, because everybody is an individual, not something that works well for one person may not work well for another.
Absolutely,
Things
and,
that
and
you
I'm sure
can't.
we'll hit on it later. Like, because obviously, what you can do with your diet, with your background and your genetics, is much different than what I can do with my diet, and we can hit on that some more. And yeah, at the end of the day, I want an individualized program for me, and I provide individualized programs for the people that I work with. It's not like you said that all encompassing, fitness and nutrition in a box.
Yeah, it is really tough, because one of the things that we always talk with, and we'll get into this as we go along, but I always mention it to different people, is that you might just be getting information from somebody that's a genetic freak, and no matter what they do, everything is going to work out well for them. But
Yeah,
that's
and coming from the background and the realm that you and I have, and the one I'm still in, is yeah, in professional wrestling, you walk into a locker room and there are guys in there that are just genetically gifted, or that are using some ergogenic aids, and they're always the guys that want to pass around fitness and nutrition advice, and it's never evidence based. It's always a bunch of quote bro science, and it's great. It works for them, and we see the outward results on the outside physically. But I would love to see their blood work, and love to see what's going on internally, because it's risk versus reward. And I'm sure the people you work with, just like the people I work with, it's not a short term goal thing. Like I always want to practice healthy behaviors that can last a lifetime. It's great if I'm wanting to cut weight and look great because I'm going to be on the beach in a couple of weeks, or if I want to look good for athletic competition. But you and I know you can't maintain that kind of lifestyle, but you can do the 80-20 rule with food. You can exercise 30 minutes a day and find something you enjoy. And I'm a firm believer in that. Again, I practice what I preach with that as well.
yeah, absolutely. But what's really entertaining to me is describing what we do to different people around. So what would you say that your parents, how would they describe what you do for a living, Matt?
Um, Luckily, as with some other things I've done, I don't think they would describe what I do as a waste of time. My father definitely would describe me as somebody that basically shows people how to work out, um, and I think probably would view me as a floor trainer, um, and not saying that that he thinks it's a negative thing. I just don't think he's very educated about it. My dad is a very eccentric guy. So he would say, I help people work out and I help people lose weight. And he also likes to try to remind me that at one point his arms were as big as mine are now, which is not true. How about you? What do you think your parents would describe as what you do?
Oh man.
And knowing both of your parents, I can't wait to hear what your dad would say.
Well, that's the best part. So my wife Susanna is also a registered dietitian, and both of us have worked with my father. It's part of his nutrition goals, and what my dad always first thing he asks for is just a list, because apparently as a registered dietitian, all I do is make lists of food.
Can you just give me the things that I need to eat? That's it. Like, take out the guesswork.
I'd like you to eliminate every possible choice for me and just make a very short, narrow list of the
I don't
things.
want to do any work whatsoever.
Right. Yeah. Every single day for the rest of my life. As long as I eat these foods, I'll be able to achieve everything that I want to do. But that's one of the problems.
Please give me that list too, because that sounds perfect. I wasn't aware that existed.
Yeah, I wasn't either. This is kind of the funny thing to me, is that list doesn't exist because it doesn't apply. Really, and we were laughing about it earlier, and I've used this as an example before, but there's only one food that I ever tell people is a bad food, quote unquote, and that is shark fin soup, because it's so high in mercury. If you have, depending on how big of a bowl you have, you might cause yourself to have mercury poisoning. You're going to end up in
So,
the hospital.
what's the appropriate serving size for shark fin soup then? Say I'm a shark fin soup connoisseur and I just have to have some. What can I have?
Depends on how big the shark was and how many fish it ate before it get.
So yeah, you have to do all kinds of mathematics, and we have to follow the shark around for a period of time. Yeah, it's just not worth it.
Life leading up to the point where because it gets concentrated in their fin, they release it from there. So that's one of the biggest problems. You'd have no idea how much is in there, and there's no way of really figuring that out. And it's kind of what we were talking about before, risk versus reward. I myself have never had shark fin soup. I assume that it probably entices people because it sounds like an interesting dish on a menu. But my guess is that people consume it, and depending on how big you are, whenever it comes to any poison, it's the dose that makes it a poison, not just the fact that it is. Like, you can definitely probably, I would say, be poisoned by something of a certain amount that was a known poison,
Right.
and you're not going to be as badly affected as if you had more of it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, curiosity killed the cat, right? Like when I was in Tokyo last year, I was trying all different kinds of sushi, and I wanted to try blowfish. And what deterred me was not the fact that if it was not prepared properly, it would kill me. It was that I didn't want to pay the price for it. So that was my risk versus reward. I'm like, I don't want to pay that much to potentially die.
Right. Yeah.
I want my death. I want my death to be cheap and easy.
Yeah. Cheap, easy, quick.
There you go. Perfect. The opposite of what franchise nutrition and fitness is.
Yeah. The funny thing is, like, we're definitely not quick by any means, because everything that you do, all of your health is more of a marathon, not a sprint. Which is going back to what our parents ask us what we do. I frequently am asked, well, I need to lose insert double digit number of weight
Absolutely.
in 30 days. What do I need to eat to achieve that? And the answer would be, well, nothing, but then you also would die. So I would suggest you come up with a different plan.
I had it presented to me recently that, and I love this idea, is that, yeah, it's how bad do you want it, and at what cost are you willing to receive it? Because yeah, you can lose an insane amount of weight, like you said, in 30 daes, but you're dead. So you're going to look good in your coffin. Or again, going back to what I said, it's activities that can last a lifetime. I don't want to go on a diet where I'm going to be miserable the rest of my life. We were talking about this earlier, I like to have an occasional beer. I like to have some sweets. I don't want to go on any sort of restrictive diet, and would be wary of any diet that made me do that, because I want to be a human being and get to go out and enjoy life.
Yeah, that's the
And
thing.
definitely not be dead.
I make beer for fun, so I don't have any problems with that. But we are talking about exercise and things. I definitely ran a 10K on Thanksgiving before I sat down and had all the food that I was going to consume for the day. And that's not a reason to have the food, but it does work towards the long term goals. I want to continue to be able to run around and play with my son, run around, do fun things with my wife. I'm not going to be able to do any of those things if I don't keep up with my own personal fitness and my own.
Absolutely. Same with me. And just from the time that you wrestled, and I'm 18 years and counting right now, I want to keep my mobility more than anything. And so, I've had some horrific fun injuries that I'm sure we'll talk about. So yeah, I remain active because I want to look good. Vanity's a good motivator for a lot of people, myself included. I want to feel good. And like you said, I want to have that quality life as I age. I don't want to be, old and decrepit, quote. I want to be able to enjoy my retirement years and get out and do those things that I've wanted to do, and those continue doing the things that I'm currently doing.
Yeah. And the fun part for you being in wrestling, you could retire 5 times, so you'd have retirement.
Absolutely. And I can at least I always have this as well, right? I can retire and then still be employed, so there's no gap in my employment.
I personally have retired from wrestling twice at this point in time. So who knows? There could be another one.
One more match. One more match.
Never say never. But
See, I'm booking a show myself in January, and don't think it didn't cross my mind to shoot you a text.
oh man, I can only imagine. It would be really comical to me. The funny thing is, the last time I wrestled, I think I was around 205 pounds. And right now I am 187.3 pounds. That's what I weighed this morning.
That's insane. That's insane that to me that I'm bigger than you now. I'm at one. I was 193 even this morning. I take my weight once a week, which I'm sure you would advise, as well as I would advise to people, because you'll drive yourself nuts. Once a week, same time of day, usually first thing in the morning is going to be best. You're going to be at your lightest, because you'll drive yourself nuts. I've worked with clients before that, they say, oh, yeah, I got up and I was 193, and then I weighed again when I went to bed and I was 200. How did I gain 7 pounds? Well, you had some food in you. You had some water in you. Hopefully you were adequately hydrated. And if it hasn't been expelled yet, it's going to be in there. So
yeah,
it's always funny to me. I gained weight. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. Let's play once a week, consistently at the same time, and not get so hung up on weight as well, which is easy for me to do as well. As we're sitting here talking about, hey, I used to be 205.
yeah. I was weighed once 3 times in the same day. Home scale, employee health for insurance check, and a doctor's visit, all in the same day. There is a 12-pound difference from in between the lightest and heaviest of all three of those weights. So I would never suggest that you abide by the scale. It's only a tool.
Yeah, like there are much better metrics to be able to do it. Yeah, I was checking my body fat this morning as well. Yeah, and that's a much more accurate measurement, waist circumference, all that good stuff. Yeah, you'll drive yourself crazy with that scale. And depending on, like if I have a good time and I've sat and watched the Atlanta Falcons hopefully not lose on a Sunday afternoon, and had a couple of beers and some food that's a little bit saltier than I normally would eat throughout my regular week, and then you get up and you weigh on Monday morning, you're like, how did I gain so much weight? It's just you're retaining so much water. And then by the time you weigh at normal time, I weigh later in the week, you're like, okay, I'm back to my baseline.
Right. But back to
but we digress. I still don't think we know how your parents would describe what you do.
Yeah, I think my parents would think I just make a list of food and assign people diets and what they're supposed to eat every day, which is as far from the truth as possible, because I pretty much never tell anybody what they can or cannot eat. Just some general guidelines, like similar to what most people probably think. You need to keep your saturated fat to less than 10%. Saturated fat is solid at room temperature. Like those that's when it comes down to any
Right.
restriction things that I talk about. But generally, I actually do a ton of math. I do so much math. But that's as a professional inside of a hospital, I'm working with patients that are not able necessarily always to feed themselves. And then I'm also working with patients trying to balance out their chronic health conditions with what they're eating to help them deal with their chronic conditions better on a long-term basis and not see more of the complications. And since I work inside of a hospital, I see a lot of people that have long-term complications of chronic conditions, which is one of the things that I enjoy most about doing what we do at Franchise Nutrition and Fitness, working with people that are outside of a hospital setting. So you're more in the real life setting, more working day to day on how do you do different things to help improve your life and help you manage any of those chronic conditions. But also, if you don't have any chronic conditions, can we do to put in place to help you balance out your life so that way maybe you don't develop those chronic
Right,
conditions?
right. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. Obviously, not a registered dietitian, but I'm a big fan of making sure that you're doing everything you can not to experience anything of metabolic syndrome or of or anything of that likelihood. Because yeah, at the end of the day, again, we want to be normal, healthy individuals and live our life as healthfully as we can. And I had somebody wanted to come say hey, apparently, so it's getting nice meowing.
Yeah, that's okay. I have a dog. She sounds like a dog, but acts like a cat. Um, but no, and what you're saying, Matt, with the fitness aspect, it has always been diet and exercise. It's always been nutrition and fitness. The two go hand in hand. You can't really have
and
one without
and
the
you'll
other.
encounter a lot of people who want to neglect one for the other. Oh well, if I just work on my diet, I don't have to be active. Or oh, I can out train my poor diet, which technically maybe, yeah, if you're Michael Phelps and you're burning 10,000 calories a day, you can go eat some higher calorie, not so nutrient dense foods. But like we were talking about, you may look good on the outside, but how are you performing on the inside? Or are you setting yourself up for high cholesterol, for high blood pressure, for diabetes, for a number of disorders that you definitely don't want to play around with.
Right. And that's kind of one of the other things. So if you can put something on a billboard, just a billboard, so you don't have a ton of words, you don't have a large amount of space.
So we're not causing somebody to crash as they're reading a five paragraph essay.
Right. What would you put up there and why would you put it on the billboard?
I would exactly what I said. Activities and behaviors that can last a lifetime. Like I believe that in every facet of my life, not just nutrition, not just fitness, but I mean, you don't want to be this wild, crazy party guy because you can't do that for a lifetime. I want to focus on things that I can do for a lifetime and have that be me for a lifetime. So that's definitely what I have up there. How about you?
I would put healthy is not the food because healthy is your relationship with food.
Absolutely.
If I could fit healthy is your relationship with food on a billboard, then I would do that. But that is the biggest culprit that I see in the permissive culture of everything that we go around is that you need to eat this food in order to do this. You need to eat this food in order to do this. And these foods are not healthy. I said it already. I brew beer for fun. Like, so if I'm brewing beer for fun, then I must also consume beer, right? Because I don't really know a lot of people that make alcohol that don't actually.
Right. You got to at least taste your source.
I have to be prepared to have that. And that's one of the bigger things with it. We're talking about your relationship with food and how it fits into your life, and you're talking about activities that can last a lifetime. But around all of that, um, I probably have a beer every day or some kind of adult beverage every day because that's what I do, and I'm just relaxing. And everybody should have that moment where they're able to relax. And but it might be different for different people.
Right. You need to take care of your mental and emotional wellness as well as the physical, which we fixate on so much. And I'm a firm believer in exercise and the benefits beyond the physical. That stress reduction, the better sleep, better regulating your emotions, all that great stuff. And I think both of us can speak to that experience. if I'm, got a lot of stressors going on in my life, go hit the gym and I'm going to feel better afterwards. Have that endorphin release and I feel good. And again, it's just focusing maybe on just something small, just being active in that first small step. And there may be days that I don't feel like going and getting my full workout in that I've written down, but do something, and I think a lot of people get so fixated on that long-term goal and hearing 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity a week, and they go, well, I'm doing nothing, so I've got to do the 150. No, you don't. If you're going from 0 to 150, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you're not working out today, go take a walk for 5 minutes. Guess what? You just worked out for 5 more minutes than you have been. And then you can slowly build upon that. Again, activities that fit into your lifestyle and that can be maintained for a lifetime. And you can build it up from there.
Yeah, I use this as one of my examples all the time whenever people are asking me about um, what's a way to talk healthy. Can you do a discussion about healthy eating around whatever? And what I feel like they're asking me to talk about are specific foods to eat that are quote unquote healthy. And really, what I end up talking about is behavior around food.
Right.
And one of the things to your point about fitness and helping you out, if you take a 10-minute walk within 45 minutes of finishing a meal, your fasting blood glucose the next day will be lower than it was the day that you ate, didn't do the walk.
And that's perfect with the holidays coming up. You're thinking about how, we're going to be sitting around, a lot of people, with family and, within our culture, the main thing we do if we're around family, you got to eat, right? So yeah, just going and taking that brief walk afterwards, after that holiday meal, those physiological benefits is amazing.
Right. It also speaks to what you were talking about before from going from 0 to 150 minutes of exercise. If you're moving into the new year and you have a new goal of adding a lot of exercise to your life and you want to get up to that 150 point, you have to have a starting point. It could just be a single 10-minute walk. It's already going to give you some health benefits, but if you continue to build upon that and you have a 10-minute walk after a meal on Monday, the next time you have a 10-minute walk is after a meal on Wednesday.
Yeah, with all my clients, I like to set people up for success. And so we can talk about those long-term goals. That long-term goal may be to lose 100 pounds or eventually get to 150 minutes of moderate intensity physical activity. But then we base our short-term goals off of that. And we make sure those short-term goals that are specific and measurable. And we come up with that plan of how we're going to do it. We time it out. I almost don't want to say this, but we dummy proof it, and set ourselves up to be able to succeed. Because if you start failing consistently, you're not going to stick with it. I don't think anybody wants to go, I'm not doing really well at something, but I'm going to stick it out. It's human nature that when the going gets tough, I don't want to do it. I'm going to try another method. But yeah, if we can build upon it and go, okay, so for my first week of my new program with my kick-ass personal trainer, Matt, all I have to do is go for a walk 10 minutes a day, 3 days a week. And we figure out, okay, well, what's that walk look like? When's that walk? Okay, well, it's cold outside. What am I going to do if I can't walk outside? And go from there and plan for those obstacles that are going to get in the way. Again, activities that can fit into your lifestyle.
Exactly. So with that, we keep talking about all these things that we do now, but if you could go back, what would you say was the most important thing that you learned in your life? And what was it like before you learned that? And then what was it like after you learned that?
The main thing for me, and this has been something that I've really gotten better at actually over the last few months, is that there's really no such thing as failure. It's only failure if you don't learn from it. Um, there have been plenty of times in my life I've failed at stuff. Quote, failed at stuff. I wanted to play baseball in high school, and I played baseball until my sophomore year. I wasn't good. I was cut from my sixth grade basketball team. I wanted to play basketball. I wasn't good. You view those moments as failures. I have worked for nationally recognized wrestling companies, and it didn't pan out for me to have a contract with them. That's a failure, technically, but it wasn't. Like, I learned how to cope with the loss. I learned how to pivot myself. Like, for instance, with the wrestling, it taught me that, okay, maybe I don't need to be within the corporate machine. maybe I need to, kind of do the punk rock mentality and be all in with the independent wrestler and make my own merch and create my own grassroots campaign. And guess what? I did that last year and I made more money, and wrestling was more popular than I ever had been before. So just learning that failure is an opportunity. It's not an end. It's a pivot to get to something else. I similarly, like my professional career, I wanted to be a public school teacher. I taught public school for a little bit and decided it wasn't for me. And my degree was primarily for that. But I realized, okay, that's not for me. What is for me? Well, it's being able to help people. And it's the reason I became an educator. I wanted to help people. So I pivoted that and became a certified personal trainer and became a fitness specialist and became a health coach. So it's still, at the end of the day, what I'm passionate about. It's just, it looks different. I didn't fail one thing and start something else. I pivoted what that goal was. How about you?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful example. I had a similar thought that I was thinking of where failure is definitely only learning experience. It's not an end. But the billboard thing that we mentioned earlier, healthy is your relationship with food. It is not the food. I think might be the most important thing that I've learned uh, because, as we talked about before, I was working my way to get bigger. That's how what got me into nutrition to begin with was because wanting to be a professional wrestler. When I first started thinking this is what I want to do, I really want to make this a goal of mine and started working towards that goal. I knew that I needed to be bigger. I When I got done with high school and I ran a marathon after high school, I was 142 pounds when I was finished. So at that point in time, being 142 pounds, wanting to be on the professional stage with the largest wrestling company in the world, how am I going to get there? What is that goal going to be? I was really tightly focused on I need to eat very specific things in order to make it to that point. And it manifested into me to where I really got bigger well, but going around it, I started realizing as I was going through it, I can't stick to reaching this goal if I avoid all of these other things around me.
Right.
And it really comes down to the relationship that you have with food and mindfully eating. And now that's a current big thing that people talk about. It's eating mindfully and having intuitive eating. What do you need and why do you want to eat it? And are you really hungry? Do you really need to eat another slice of whatever it is? It's your pizza, cake, who knows? But what I started doing that more naturally before that was something I was taught. And then I was taught this is why you want to do that. And these are the foods that help this happen. These are components in foods that help you achieve different aspects of your health and help you manage different conditions or help you prevent other conditions. And after learning that uh, it's your relationship with food that creates the health for you, I think I say that phrase every day, at least once a day.
And
And
it makes total sense, and I love it. And from the first time you told it to me, I loved it and stood by it, because yeah, we as a society have too easy of a time demonizing stuff, especially food. Stay away from this. Never eat this. And you always see those crazy articles that you and I are in a Facebook fitness group that I know you like to debunk a lot of the myths, but you'll get, don't eat any of these after the age of 35, or, crazy stuff like that. And it's like, I'm not the registered dietitian here, but I don't think that's correct.
yeah, those are conveniently cherry picked studies. I tried to look up the studies that were referenced in that article, and there were no studies actually referenced in that article. It just said one study said whatever, but it didn't mention what study it was.
Right. I mean, technically I can sit here and do a study like.
Yeah, I could wager, I would put down money that a lot of those studies that had those outcomes for those people were uh, insert chronic condition, people with chronic kidney disease
Right.
should avoid um, protein foods like this, or uh, people with gout should not drink sodas. So,
And and that's the problem with a lot of both of our respective industries, is that there's a lot of misinformation out there because people can cherry pick what they want to do to present their argument. But again, I go back to it. You go back to yours as far as the relationship with food. I'll go back to this. It's activities and behaviors that can last a lifetime. You tell as soon as you tell me I have to avoid a particular food, I want that food even more. It's human nature, and so all right. So I'm not going to eat any junk food for the next 30 days. Like you see that one a lot, especially this upcoming time of year. And okay, you do that for 30 days, then what are you going to do? You're going to gorge on that junk food.
oh yeah, that and the eliminating an entire category of food. I'm not going to have any bread. Like, okay, so you're not going to have a bagel, you're not going to have a donut, you're not going to have cake, you're not going to have any. Like, there's a lot of things that are bread that people don't
Right,
realize are bread,
right.
but that's one of those things.
All right, so we're talking about food, and I like this question a lot. It is kind of morbid. What would you pick for your last meal? If you could pick anything you want, what's your last meal look like?
And if I had, are we talking like a 3-course meal
I,
or?
just what? So sky's the limit, because I sort of know what my answer is, and so it's going to be a long one. So yeah, I'm not gonna relegate you, yeah, to just one entree.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's that. Is it like tapas? I'm gonna have like tapas.
Yeah. It's your last meal. You can pick it.
I go to chow, and it's just the endless green. So it just keeps going until I engorge myself, and then that's it. And that's actually what kills me. Um, Dude, I'm that's a tough question. I always go back to my favorite food, which I can't even make correctly, is my great grandmother's peach cobbler.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
It
I
yeah,
can't
just
remember the last time I had peach cobbler. Oh.
insert great grandmother, and you know it's great.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it's going to be full of fat and sugar, and it's prepared the right way.
Yeah, and the annoying thing for me is that it's the way to make it is a ratio base off of these like 4 ingredients. There's really hardly anything in there,
It's
and
getting that right combo.
the only people that still know how to do it that I know are my mom and my sister, and they won't write it down. It's just in their heads.